Now we are moving to the third thing, that is under Article 368 with 50% of the states. So whatever the majority that is under Article 368, we have discussed here itself, right? So under Article 368, the majority is twofold. One is absolute majority. The second thing is majority of the 2/3 members present and voting. Absolute majority, the first one. The second one is majority of 2/3 members present and voting. So here under Article 368, so under Article 368, that particular majority has to be passed in the parliament, right? So this third majority is only used for the constitutional amendment bills which are affecting the federal provisions. Time and again I am mentioning this about this, which is very important. So the third majority under the special majorities, the third category is used only for the constitutional amendment bills which are affecting the federal provisions, are affecting the state's interest. So under such circumstances, that particular constitutional amendment bill which will be introduced in the parliament, that has to be passed by the parliament, by both the houses separately, using special majority under Article 368. So in the parliament, the majority that is used for such type of bills is special majority under Article 368. So the parliament in the Lok Sabha and in the Rajya Sabha, they have to pass that particular type of constitutional amendment bill using special majority under Article 368, and then that particular bill will be sent to the states, and at least 50% of the states, have to say yes or have to ratify that particular bill by using simple majority. Under the simple majority, we have seen this also, right? So under the third category, under the special majorities which were used for only the constitutional bills which affecting the federal principles, the process is like such. The constitutional amendment bill can be introduced in Lok Sabha or Rajya Sabha. The initiating house has to pass that bill using the special majority under Article 368, and then the bill will be sent to the other house. The other house also has to pass the bill using special majority under Article 368. After passing by both the houses, the bill will be sent to the states, and the states have to consent or ratify that particular bill using simple majority. At least 50% of the states have to say yes, or at least 50% of the states have to pass that particular legislation using simple majority. Whenever the benchmark of 50% crosses, that bill will be sent to the president, and president gives his assent, and then it will become a law. And one such example for this is 101st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2016, which is nothing but introduction of GST. Introduction of GST affected the financial relations or financial provisions of the states. It affected the financial interest of the states. Because of such reason, the third category was used for passing GST Act, for passing 101st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2016. The third category of majority was used at the initial stages. The bill was introduced in the parliament. The parliament has passed it by using special majority under Article 368. Thereafter, the bill was sent to the states. States have ratified it with using simple majority. Then thereafter, the bill was sent to the president, and president has given his assent. Then only the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act, which actually introduced GST in India, was implemented. Got my point? Right. Just go through this. Whatever that we have discussed, that is there in this slide. Just go through that. Time and again, I have said that the third category under the special majority is used for the constitutional amendment bills that are affecting the federal principles. So there are 8 such type of domains, or 8 such type of what we call provisions which actually affect the federal principles. Those 8 are, so again the same thing here is, first the parliament must pass the amendment. Just go through that, whatever that we have discussed, that is there in this slide. First the parliament has to pass, then the states have to ratify them using the simple majority. So here the simple majority, here the majority under Article 368. In the parliament, majority under Article 368. In the states, with the simple majority. Right. So these are the 8 provisions. Under which, right. So I have mentioned that under the third category of the special majorities. So whenever a constitutional amendment bill was brought, which is affecting the federal provisions of the constitution, or which is affecting the state's interest, then the state's consent is must. So these are the 8 such provisions. These are the 8 provisions under which, if any constitutional amendment bill will be brought, that has to get the support of the states. So these are the 8 provisions that are mentioned in the constitution itself. So if the parliament brings any law under these 8 headings or under these 8 provisions, then the parliament has to get the consent from at least 50% of the states. So these are the applications I have given. These are the applications for this particular type of majority. And in the next lecture, that is constitutional amendment procedure, we are going to take up each of these topic, each of these topic provision, and we are going to discuss that. Because their constitutional amendment process, this is very important to discuss there. But now here I have taken these as the applications of this particular type of majority, and I will finish this in 3 to 5 minutes. I will finish this slide. Okay. So the application one is election of the president. So there is a manner, there is a process for the electing the president of India. If there is any amendment that is brought which changes or which amends such a process, then that particular bill has to get the consent from the at least 50% of the states. At least 50% of the states has to give consent for such type of constitutional amendment bill. Application 2, extent of the executive power of the union and the states. Extent of the executive power of the union and the states. So if there is any constitutional amendment bill which seeks to increase the executive power of the union, or which seeks to reduce the executive power of the states, which is affecting the interest of the states, because it is disturbing the federal balance. So under such circumstances, the constitutional amendment bill must be sent to the states. After passing in the parliament, it has to be sent to the states, and states, at least 50% of the states, have to say yes, have to give their consent through the simple majority. Right? Application 3, powers and authority of the Supreme Court and High Courts. If the parliament has brought any constitutional amendment bill which is reducing the authority of the Supreme Courts, or which is reducing the authority of the High Courts, such a bill is affecting the states' interest. So it has to be sent to the states. And states, at least 50% of the states, have to give their nod, have to give their consent. Fourth one, distribution of legislative powers between the union and the states under the 7th schedule. Under the 7th schedule, if there is any disturbance, if there is any kind of amendment that is brought, that has to get the nod, or that has to get the consent of the states. At least 50% of the states have to give their consent to amend the 7th schedule. So under the 7th schedule, the 5th application is any amendment affecting the union. So under the 7th schedule, there are 3 lists: union list, state list, and concurrent list. If there is any change under this list, if there is any transfers from state list to union list, or from state list to concurrent list, then that particular type of constitutional amendment bill has to get the acceptance from the at least 50% of the states. At least 50% of the states have to accept such kind of transfer of the legislative subjects from one list to other list. Application 6, representation of states in the parliament. So representation of the states in the parliament. So if there is any kind of bill, constitutional amendment bill that has brought by the parliament, which is affecting the representation of the states in the parliament, then such a bill has to send to the states, and they have to, at least 50% of the states have to give their consent. Application 7, goods and service GNC council. So if there is any change in the composition or the voting weightage or any kind of thing in the GST that is pertaining to the GST council, that has to be brought under the 3rd category of the special majority, and such a constitutional amendment bill has to get the under Article 368 majority in the parliament, and after getting the required majority in the parliament, it has to send to the states, and at least 50% of the states have to say yes for that type of amendment. Right? So application 8, power of parliament to amend the constitution and its procedure, that is Article 368 itself. So if the parliament has brought any kind of constitutional amendment bill which is incorporating a kind of procedure which is diluting the procedure of amendment, that is in the Article 368. So I have said Article 368 deals with the procedure of amending the constitution. So if the parliament has brought any kind of such constitutional amendment bill which is seeking to dilute the process that is mentioned in the Article 368, which is seeking the dilution of the procedure that is mentioned in the Article 368, so that particular type of bill is also under this category, and that has to be sent to the states. States have to accept such kind of procedural changes in the amendment of the process, in the amendment of the Indian Constitution. So if the parliament seeks to dilute the procedure of the Article 368, it has to get the consent from at least 50% of the states. Got my point? Right. So with the inclusion of GST Council in this list, the list actually changed to from 7 to 8. From 7 to 8, with the enactment of 101st Constitutional Amendment Act of 2016, the GST Council was formed, and whatever the provisions that are related to GST Council, they were brought under this category, that is the third category under the special majorities. So the GST Council, if the Parliament seeks to change any of the provisions of the GST Council, it cannot do unilaterally. It has to get the consent from the states, because the GST Council was placed under this category, under the third category of the special majorities. Because of such reason, the Parliament cannot change any of the provisions of the GST Council unilaterally. If so, it wanted to change any of the provisions of the GST Council, it has to bring a constitutional amendment bill. It has to pass with the special majority under 368 in the Parliament, and then that particular bill has to be sent to the states, and state has to give at least 50% of the states have to pass that particular bill with a simple majority. So a kind of safeguard was provided to the GST Council by placing the GST Council under the provisions of the category 3 of the special majority.